Hello, ladies. How are you tonight? After yesterday's poll, new product won. So I decided to use Wisteria Wishes. When I first saw the stamp set, I really was not going to purchase it. And now I'm glad I did. It has the Wisteria, and then it had what I thought at first they looked like corn stalks. But I actually turned the wisteria upside down and created bluebells. So here are the dies that match. You can cut out the wisteria. You can make the hanging wisteria, which I did for this card and for the front of this little box. Hi, Dawn. Hey, Kathy. Hi, Margaret. And on the little box, I have it stamped all the way around, just on plain white cardstock. And I actually made it. I've been making goat milk soap for years, and I just had a little sample piece, so I decided to make this little box for my soap. So I'm using Basic White, Gorgeous Grape, Highland Heather, and Pear Pizzazz. And those are the basic colors that we will be using tonight. And we're going to start with this card, because on the other card, I will need to run something through the cut and emboss machine. So we're going to start with, believe it or not, a layer of Basic White, 8.5 by 5.5. Thank you. Hi, Pam. And it's scored at 4.25. Hope everybody's doing well. It's getting pretty warm here in Pennsylvania. I actually put the air conditioner in the bedroom because it's gotten so warm. I haven't gotten it in the rest of the house yet, but at least the bedroom is cool. Can't believe we just had cold weather and snow, and now I have the air conditioner on. Okay, so we have a layer of Highland Heather, which is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And then you'll notice I use the Subtles Designer Series paper, and believe it or not, this was the last piece I had. So I switched it out for tonight's card and used the lines and this piece of Subtles. Seems to happen every time. I didn't check before. And I will have a PDF posted tomorrow, probably by 12, with all the measurements. And if you place a $35 order, I will send you these make and takes. Now, I can't send you stamped images, but I can send you all the paper. And then when the stamp set is released with the new catalog, you can always create the cards then, or create it with a stamp set that you already have. You can switch out the wisteria for any other flowers or images. Hey, Karen, how are you, honey? Yes, very pretty bundle. Like I said, I wasn't that crazy about it when I first saw it, but decided to get it anyway. And now I'm glad I did, because it is very pretty. Okay, so we have the layers on the front of our card. Then I die cut from the ornate layers, and this die set is retiring, and I am going to pop this up onto the front of the card. Oops. Hey, Do. That's okay. So let's pop this up on the front of the card. How's the weather by you, Karen? I know you, oh, 40s there. Oh my goodness. I'm just thinking about you, Karen, because your weather is always so crazy too. But like I said, I opened my window. I think it is, let's see if I see the temperature. It's not on my computer. Oh, it's 68 right now. But I do have the air conditioner on in my bedroom. So how crazy is that? Okay, so we're going to pop this up right here onto the front of the card. And I didn't want to leave this plain, so I ended up using some gorgeous grape. And this is 3 5/8 by 2 1/4. And it fits right inside the little holes on the die. And then I used another piece of the Subtles designer series paper, and I actually cut this one 3 3/8 by 2, and that's gonna fit right down there onto the front. So let's layer this up, and we're gonna glue them together. Making sure it's on there pretty centered. And then we're also going to glue this one down. So I know many of you saw the in colors that I posted. Anybody have any favorites so far? I think I'm liking the Tahitian Tide, the blue. That's a pretty nice color. It's so hard in photos because it doesn't really show the vibrance of the colors. Okay, I did then cut out basic white in the stitched rectangle. And the rectangle is the one that's just about 1.5 by 2 3/4. And then I ran it through the cut and emboss machine with the Tasteful Textiles. This also is retiring. And I'm just going to glue this down to the front of the card. On this one, I put it up a little bit. I'm actually going to move it down on this one. Just wanted to add another layer and some more texture to the front of the card. Then I grabbed the die, and let me see if I can pull this off, and it's called Wisteria dies, and I die cut two little branches, and then I did cut an additional one for the card, this card here, and I saved the other piece for tonight's card because I wanted to add an additional piece over top of the wisteria just to hide the edges of the flowers. So we're just going to pop out these pieces. And this is Pear Pizzazz. And look at how beautiful these, can you see how beautiful this die cut is? The leaves actually are etched. They're really very pretty. Okay, so we're just going to put our leaves aside. And then we're going to grab some basic white. And we are going to stamp our wisteria. I'm going to grab my Highland Heather, and I'm just going to move this card out of the way. And I'm going to grab my silicone mat, and we're going to ink up the wisteria and give it a good stamp. And the three are connected. And then it has an additional stamp, and you can see I got it on my block. And for this one, we're going to grab the Gorgeous Grape and ink this up. Now this stamp is forgiving. You don't have to try to finagle it to try to fit. If you just stamp this right down on this little bunch of wisteria, it comes out perfectly. So then, once we have that stamped, we're going to take the coordinating die and we're going to run this through the cut and emboss machine, and we get our wisteria. Now for the hanging wisteria with the die cuts, let me show you those. I took the large one and I ran it through using Highland Heather. And we're just going to poke these pieces out. And then I used the smaller die and I cut it out using the Gorgeous Grape, just like the images I stamped. So we'll put those aside, get rid of those pieces. And to put these together, you'll notice that at the top of this die, there's a nice little circle, and it corresponds with this circle here. So we're just going to grab our glue, and we're going to add some dots of glue on the back of the Gorgeous Grape. And we're going to lay it right down on top of the Highland Heather. Just like that. Now I could have done it the opposite way. I could have done the Gorgeous Grape and topped it with Highland Heather, but I just figured I would do it the same way that I stamped the flowers on it for here. Hi Kathy, how are you? Thanks Karen. Okay, so let's pull in our card. We're going to grab the leaves, and I'm just going to take a peek. I actually took my leaves and popped them up. If you grab the small mini dimensionals, they actually fit perfectly behind these little leaves, so you won't see them. So we're just going to add a few. Let's put one here, so at least we have a few. And I'm just going to take this and put it along. I want the end of this stem to meet my corner. Let's see. This is the one I cut, I believe. Yes, it is. So let me get this one. That's the one I cut for the extra. So we're going to we'll put our dimensionals on one more time. I want to use the full bunch of leaves so it fills the whole front of the card. So we're going to, I'm going to leave the paper on this dimensional right here because I want to fit my sentiment on the corner. So we're just going to line this up again right at the end there, and you'll notice that this bunch of leaves has a stem coming down, and that is for the wisteria. I'm not going to worry about that because I'm going to take my layering circle, and I'm actually going to do this right now. We're going to lay this, and I'm going to tuck it right here. We have some leaves tucked under, which is fine. And then we're going to grab our second stem, and I want this piece now to be hidden, so I'm going to tuck it so it's hidden within these leaves, and we're going to also pop this one up. So I'm again going to grab my dimensionals, and I want my dimensionals to be put on so it doesn't interfere with my sentiment, but I want it to be able to be popped up onto the front of the card. I'm only adding 2 right now, so I want to tuck this under, and we're going to just stick that down just like that. So let's grab our white circle, our basic white circle, and let's stamp our sentiment before we get before I get too far ahead of myself. So I used to a friend, that's the wrong one. It's already on this block. To a friend who's all kinds of wonderful. And I am going to stamp it in Gorgeous Grape. So we're just going to ink up and stamp. Now I'm using the silicone mat, or you could use the foam mat, because these photopolymer stamps are not cushioned, so you get a better stamp if you use some sort of mat. Hello, Elizabeth. How are you? It's good seeing you. Okay, so now that it is stamped, I'm just going to grab this circle and a blending brush, and I am just going to add a little bit of Highland Heather right around the edges. It can touch the front. Pull in our card, and then we're going to add some glue, and we're going to tuck it up and under these leaves. And actually, I am going to take this little leaf. You can see that little leaf there. I'm going to tuck that under so we can see the complete who's. And then this one, I'm going to now pull off the paper. And I'm going to just pull it out ever so slightly so I can see the 2. And then we have our leaves on the top of our card. Let's grab that Wisteria, and I'm also going to pop this up. And again, we're going to use the mini dimensionals because there are nice spots on this Wisteria that you can hide these dimensionals. And we really won't see them too much because of the leaves. And we are going to tuck it. We're going to cover up this stem, and we're just going to tuck it up and under that little leaf. Just like that. For the other Wisteria, I again want to pop this up, but I don't want to double pop it up from here. So I'm going to just add a dimensional here. And then I'm going to add some glue to this Wisteria because this is popped up. And we are going to tuck this up and under and add it right to the front of the card. Now that extra leaf stem that I had. I'm actually going to cut this apart. So we're going to trim this leaf here. And we're going to trim this here. Now I already did put dimensionals on it. And I want to add this so it covers up the tops. And I'm just going to trim. You can see that dimensional right there. I'm just going to trim that off a little bit. And then we're going to take this leaf and fit it right onto the front of the card. I'm going to grab my brushed brass butterflies. Probably didn't even see this one, but I had it tucked right here on this leaf. And then I'm going to pull in the pastel pearls, and I'm going to use the darkest of them, and I'm just going to stick this right here on the corner. Now the ribbon I used is the tricolor ribbon, and it's Gorgeous Grape, Highland Heather, and what was the other one? It just slipped my mind. Let me look. Not that one. Purple Posy. It is no longer available, but you could substitute the Gorgeous Grape sheer ribbon that's in the catalog. All right, so let's just tie up a bow here. And I think I cut my ribbon a little too short. So let me just see if I can't get, oh, I got it. And we're just going to tighten that up. Grab my scissors that I use for my ribbons. Fix my tails because I want to get my tails cut pretty even. And let's grab a glue dot. And we're going to take this ribbon and we're going to put it right here at the end so we cover up the end of that stem. Let's get rid of that. And then there is the front of our card. If you wanted to, you could actually pull these little leaves out from underneath very carefully. That one I have pushed down. So you could just pull the leaf out. Now for the inside of the card, I stamped the Wisteria to match the outside of the card. So I have a layer of Highland Heather, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And then I have a basic white, and this is 5 1/4 by 4. So I am going to grab my pear pizzazz. Let's get rid of these little, I hate these little papers. And we are going to come in here and we're going to grab the leaves. Let's see, we'll use this block. Let's take the wisteria off for now. They sure do stick. And set this on the block, and I'm just going to ink it up. And I'm going to stamp these leaves. Now you'll notice on the stamp, there's 3 little pieces coming down, and they are the 3 stems for the wisteria. So when you stamp it, you want to make sure that those stems are pretty straight. So I'm just going to stamp the leaves right about there. Let's remove them now. Grab our wisteria again. And we're going to do the same thing again. Ink up with Highland Heather. Now what you want to do is get your wisteria lined up with these 3 stems. And I think we'll do it right about there. Make sure you have a good press so you get your color. And then we're going to grab the gorgeous grape and the individual stamp. And like I said, it's very forgiving. You don't have to sit there and line it up. Just stamp it. And let's grab some seal. I don't want to use the glue because I've noticed it coming through lately, which is weird. And let's get this layer down. Pull that up really easy. There we go. And grab our card. Now I can glue it in because it's the Highland Heather layer. And lay this on the inside of the card. And then we have our first card with traditional wisteria. Yes, it is a very pretty set. Thanks, Margaret. Hi, Sheila. How are you, honey? Thanks, Dawn. I will be, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Elizabeth. We've been having our own issues here with my husband's heart, and then he was just diagnosed with bladder cancer. So it has been one heck of a year so far. Okay, let's jump to card number 2. Now, this is the card that I said I'm going to have to get up, excuse me, and run the sheet through the embossing folder, with the embossing folder. Okay, so I have basic white again, and I cut it 11 by 4 1/4, and I scored it at 5 1/2. All right, my bone folder disappeared. Okay, so there is our base layer. And then again, I have a layer of the Highland Heather. And this is, I think I did this one, let's see, 5 1/4 by 4. So there's a little bit more white showing. So we're going to lay this on the front of the card. And like I always say, if you get your 3 sides even, it should be even across the 4th side. Okay, so there we have that layer. That's for the inside. Next, we have another layer of the basic white. Hold on, I dropped my flowers. And this one is, and you don't have to write it down. I'll have a PDF for you. It's 3 3/4 by 5. So let's pull in our silicone mat again. And I'm going to grab my scrap piece of paper. And we're going to pull in our pear pizzazz. And we're going to pull in the leaves that to me look like corn stalks. That was my first thought when I saw them. They look like corn stalks. And I am just going to ink this up. And I wanted these to be a little shorter than the bluebells in the center. So where this stamp has the bottom leaf, that is about where I started with this stamp. So I'm just going to stamp about 3/4 of it. And then we're going to jump over to the other side and we're going to do the same thing. And we're going to do just about half. Excuse me. So now we're going to grab that wisteria again. Sorry, ladies, it's warm in here. Let me just grab a drink quick. I do have my window open, but it's very muggy. We had a little bit of rain today, so. And we're going back to our Highland Heather. So I'm going to ink up the whole stamp. But now we have to remember we only have 2 stems here. So we're going to turn our wisteria over. And we are going to stamp this right at the top of those stems. Make sure you got a good stamp. And then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Just like that. Okay? Close up our Highland Heather. Grab our gorgeous grape. And we're going to stamp in the shadows. Just like that. All right. So give me 1 second. Let me run this through with the Tasteful Textile embossing folder. Just take me 1 second. I would use my cut and emboss machine right here on my desk, but I have not replaced my plates yet, and they are disgusting. Okay, so I just ran it through just to give this background some texture. And then I'm going to grab my pear pizzazz and these corn stalks, I'm going to call them. And we're just going to stamp these leaves. And then grab the coordinating die. Run it through the cut and emboss machine. And then we have our leaves or our stems. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the wisteria. And we're going to cut it out, and instead of using it this way, we're going to use it this way. So we're going to grab our layer. Let me get this out of the way. And before I do anything, now that I ran this through the cut and emboss machine, I'm going to adhere it to the gorgeous grape. I can use glue on this because I don't want to damage the embossing. And you won't notice the glue with the layer embossed. I'm going to get this on here even. Just like that. Then I'm going to grab a little length of this ribbon. And the reason I did this was I just wanted something at the bottom of this layer so it didn't look so plain. So I am just going to adhere some glue dots. Yes, they do look like lilacs. Thanks, Dawn. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't too keen on this stamp set either, and then I decided to give it a shot, and I wasn't sure what I was going to create for tonight. And I figured, you know what? I'm going to turn this ribbon this way so the gorgeous grape is on top. I figured, let me give it a shot. And now I'm glad I did get this set, because I can see this being used with a lot of different colors. And I like the idea that we can turn it upside down and use, create a different flower with it. Okay, so I just added that ribbon. Now I am going to pop this up onto the front of the card. Now, instead of using dimensionals, I'm using the foam strips. The foam strips are just a little bit deeper than the dimensionals, so you can't mix and match. If you're going to use the foam strips, you have to stick with the foam strip, because you won't have a level layer. And it is a little bit higher, and I can show you. See, there is a little bit more depth to these foam strips. So if you do use them, you have to use them, and you can't, like I said, can't substitute and use some dimensionals with it. So I'm just going to get this. I'm just putting it around each side, and then I'm just going to grab an additional length of this. And so the center does not sink, I'm just going to put this diagonal right in the center of this layer. Now we can pull this wonderful paper that isn't as bad as the dimensional paper. And let's grab our card, make sure it opens the right way. And we're going to center this, whoops, on our Highland Heather. Just like that. Let's grab our stems. Oops. And our mini dimensionals. And we're going to pop this up. Again, there's spaces on this image is plenty big for your dimensionals. Pull in our front, and then we're going to lay this right over the ribbon, and I'm just coming up a little bit from the bottom. Oops. And we're going to make sure those stems are straight, just like that. Let's grab our flowers. This one, I'm going to use the larger dimensionals. We're going to add them. I'm pulling them up just a little so we don't interfere with the stems. And I'm just going to add 2 smaller ones right here. You know, these papers will be all over the place tonight. And We're going to line them up. So you're going to overlap them a little bit so it hides the top of that stem. And set it right there on the front of the card. Let's grab those butterflies. And I'm going to put one here. And we'll add one right here. And then we're going to go back to these pastel pearls. And I'm just going to add two right here on the top of the card. And then we're going to grab that ribbon. And we're going to put a little bow right at the bottom here. And again, I think I cut my ribbon too short, so let me just see if I can't finagle this to get it tied. I don't know why I do this all the time. Oh, there we go. I think little bow and short. All right, let me get this off my finger. Now I'm going to make my little loops just a little smaller. And you'll notice that, so I'm going to pull one loop to make it small. And then I'm going to pull this tail to make it a little smaller. Now you'll notice that my bow has the lighter color at the top. And if I was thinking, I would have tied it so the dark was on the top. But I'm not going to worry about it. And we're going to cut these tails. Grab that glue dot. And let's stick this right in the center of the card. Let's do it right about there. For the inside, I did exactly the same thing, but put faith is about trusting in the center. So I think this is 5 1/4 by 4, and it is. And this is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And we're going to pull our scrap piece of paper and our layer and our pear pizzazz. And we're going to stamp. I'm going to stamp the leaves first. And let's see, did I do 2 flowers? Let me just check. About 1 1/2 flowers. So let's stamp our stems there. And here. Close up our pear pizzazz. Grab our Highland Heather. And now our gorgeous grape. See how quick these are? Very unforgiving. We're going to leave the gorgeous grape open because we're going to grab the faith is about trusting. And we're going to stamp this right in the center of the flowers. Oops, off the screen. Sorry about that, ladies. And then grab our seal. Our Highland Heather. Oops, it's a little bit off. And then adhere this to the inside of our card. Oops, stuck on the bow. Okay, so there is card number 2. I hope you like them. I really do love purples. Now, Margaret, wisteria is your favorite flower or the bluebells? I guess they're called bluebells. I'm not even sure if that's what they're called. I saw what bluebells look like, and then they did have pictures of flowers that look just like this. Even my neighbor right outside my living room window, they have these and they're bluer. They're not really purple. They're almost like the blue new in color and very, very pretty. So I'm not really too sure what the wisteria, yes. Wisteria is a very beautiful flower. Okay, so for the little treat box, I did cut it up a little differently than I did with this original box because I wanted it a little bit smaller. So I have a piece that is 11 inches by 6 inches. And then I scored it at 2, 5 1/4, 7 1/4, 10 1/2. And then I turned it and I scored it at 1 1/2 and 4 1/2. Now, one side is the bottom of the box, and then we're going to create the flap for the top of the box. So, but before we do that, I'm just going to try to straighten this out a little bit. And let's just grab this silicone mat. And I'm going to grab, let's see what I did with it. There it is right here. The wisteria leaves. So I'm going to get this on my block. And we're going to pull in the pear pizzazz. Now the reason I'm shortened up the little treat box or whatever you want to use it for is because I wanted the wisteria to hang down lower so you'd be able to see it. So we're going to ink up our leaves, and I'm going to start right here. And we're just going to stamp the leaves across the top. And I'm going to move this down so it actually touches a little bit. And the same with this. And then let's do one more. Whoops. I don't think I'll be able to fix that. Let's see. Can I? No. Okay. So we have our wisteria greenery across the top. Then we're going to grab our Highland heather. I'm just going to grab this scrap piece of paper again. And we're going to add our wisteria. So we're going to use these stems or these, yes, the stems that they're hanging from. And we're going to get our wisteria stamped. And we want to make sure that we don't mess it up like I did there. So we're going to make sure it's stamped really well. And we're just going across the whole length. And then once more. And then we're going to grab our gorgeous grape and add our shadows. Makes them almost look 3D. Okay, so now we have our images, and once this closes up, this is going to be where we attach it. Let's get the nicest part of the box, and actually we're going to use this for the front right here. So if this is the front, we need the flap right here. So we want this flap to flap over onto the front. So let's grab our scissors, and I am going to cut to the right of the score line and remove this first little rectangle. This is the flap I want. So I want to cut out now to the left of that score line. And then this piece right here, I am going to completely cut off. I know, crazy, right? I'm just cutting down the score line. Okay. Here's the bottom of our box. So we're going to make sure this will be the front. So we want to make sure we cut the score line out. And then we're just going to miter this. Here's another. I'm going to cut to the right because I want that score line out. And then we're going to miter it. And I'm just going to go back and miter this piece. And then we're going to remove, oops, this little rectangle. So we're going to cut to the left of the score line and then angle cut, just like that. So this is what our box will look like. I'm going to grab my triple corner punch or the triple punch, and I am going to fit this in here, and I am going to punch my corners just like that. Let's get rid of those little pieces. And then we're going to grab, let's see where it is, hang in there. And I picked hang in there because all these little wisteria were hanging. So again, here's the top of your treat bag. This is going to fold over. So you need to turn it and put your sentiment right here. So let's ink up hang in there. I just want to make sure, let me put the silicone mat under this so it sticks down a little better. So we're just going to stamp this right there. Oops, I did it again. Sorry, ladies. Gonna have to move my camera. So this is going to flip over. So now, this little tag here, or tab, let's add some tearing tape. And I'm adding it right next to the score line. Let's remove this paper. And then you can fold this in, one second score line, fold it over, and you're going to line it up so it's equal with the end of the box. Okay? Now we're going to, this is the front of the box, so you want this flap to go in last. So let's put in our sides. We'll tuck in this side. Let's add our glue. We'll add the glue here. And then fold this over. Make sure it's in there even, like that one wasn't. And then hold it, grab that bone folder, and just stick this down. Just like that. Then all I'm going to do is push in the two sides, just like that. Give it a little squeeze, and then we can pull over our front flap. Now, I did use a piece of Velcro. But before I put the Velcro on, I am going to grab this Wisteria and I am going to glue it down. Oops, I didn't even glue them together, ladies. Let's glue them together, and then we're going to glue it down to the front of the bag. You don't really necessarily need this piece. I put it on the original. You see that? It won't even stay still. I put it on the original one because the flowers did not come down far enough, and I just thought it needed something a little longer. So let's add some glue. I want this to fit towards the bottom, and it actually fits right to the top. And then we can add our Velcro. I'm going to add it right on top of the Wisteria that is not dry yet. See? Doing it too quick. And then we can close this up. And whoops. Did it too quick. Should have waited for the Wisteria to dry. Just like that. That should be good. And then we'll tie one more ribbon. And I cut this one a little better. So let's get this ribbon tied. Clean up some of this mess here. And pull this off my finger. There we go. Get our little tails together. and trim. Grab a glue dot, and we're going to add this right to the bottom of that flap there. If I would have put the soap in, it would have held it a little easier. And then there we go. See, let's grab one little butterfly and let's add it right about there. So you can see this box is just a little tiny bit shorter. Not too much. So we have our little box. And our cards. So I hope you liked tonight's projects. Thank you, thank you. So if you order $35 using the host code at the bottom of the screen, I will send you these make and takes for free. So ladies, have a great night. I'm hoping to get on Saturday. Thanks, Sheila. And I hope everybody's enjoying themselves and the weather gets nice. No snowstorms in the forecast, I hope. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye. Thanks, ladies. Thank you, thank you. You're welcome. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.